What's up guys, I'm James Withey, and today we're going to talk about 3 different methods that artists use to price their tattoos. Alright, so like I said in the intro, today's video is all about tattoo pricing. And this is a pretty difficult subject to explain all in one video. Like when I started kind of organizing all my thoughts for this one, I realized that there is quite a bit that goes into the pricing of a tattoo that's really difficult to describe in just one, 15 or 20 minute video. So most likely all this stuff is going to be kind of spread out over the course of 5 or 6 or 7 videos, but I feel like the stuff that I'm going to discuss in this one is the most important stuff and the most basic starting point for understanding how the fuck tattoos are actually priced out. With that said, it is worth mentioning that pricing tattoos is definitely not an exact science. There's a lot of different variables to consider when a tattoo artist or a client is trying to decide how much a tattoo should cost or will cost. And not only that, but it varies quite a bit from artist to artist. Everybody has different ways they like to handle things, and I'm going to try to do my best to break that stuff down for you in this video. So like I said earlier, in this video we're going to be discussing 3 different methods that tattoo artists use to price out their tattoos. And those 3 methods are the hourly method, the flat rate method, and the day rate method. So with that said, we'll go ahead and start discussing the first one, which is the hourly rate. I think that it's pretty safe to say that the hourly rate is the most common method of the 3 that I'm going to be discussing today, and it's also going to be the one that I talk about the most. So basically what it is exactly how it sounds, how much your tattoo ends up costing in the end is based on how long your tattoo took, and that's measured in hours. So how many hours your tattoo took is going to end up being multiplied by what the artist's hourly rate is. So for instance, if an artist charges $100 an hour and your tattoo takes 5 hours, your tattoo is going to cost $500. So with this method, neither the client or the artist really knows exactly how much the tattoo is going to cost until the moment the tattoo is actually completed at the end of that session. And that might scare a lot of people, and does scare a lot of people when they first start shopping around for tattoos and learn that it's all charged hourly. But the truth is, if you're going to a reputable artist that knows what they're doing, they're going to be able to give you a pretty accurate ballpark in terms of what the least amount of money that tattoo might cost and what the maximum amount of money that tattoo might cost. During a consultation, when you are asking about the price of a specific tattoo, the artist is going to quote you based on what their specific vision in their head is as far as how the tattoo is going to look in the end, and also based on their own personal experience with how long it takes them particularly to do that type of tattoo. It's also important to mention that with the scale of the project, the bigger a tattoo gets, it becomes more difficult for a tattoo artist to estimate exactly how many hours it's going to take. So that low-end, high-end estimate that they give you is probably going to get wider and wider with the scale of the project, or as the scale of the project increases. Now, some things that can affect how long a tattoo might take might be the placement of the tattoo. Some areas on the body take longer than others to put the ink in the skin, just because they're a little bit more spongy of a skin or have less elasticity, or they're just less taut or whatever. For instance, the side of the calf is a really fast area to tattoo because the skin is so tight there, but the ribs is a pretty slow area to tattoo because your ribs are always kind of expanding and contracting or whatever, so that skin just tends to be a little bit tougher and more rubbery than other areas of the body, and it's harder to get that ink in with a very small amount of passes with the needle. So placement is definitely a consideration. Complexity of the tattoo, whether or not it has a lot of line work in it, or whether it just has very minimal line work. Saturation, whether or not it has a lot of empty skin in it, or if it's just totally filled solid with ink. Whether it's black and gray, color, how large of a person you are. If you're asking for a forearm wrap or something like that, obviously that's going to take a different amount of time on a 120-pound woman than it is on a 220-pound dude. So those are some factors that tattoo artists use to, figure out how long something might take them, in addition to many, many others that I probably wouldn't even be able to cover in this video without making a separate one just about that. So as far as how the total hours spent during a session are calculated, that varies from artist to artist. Some artists will charge you for every single minute that you're in their tattoo room. If you're in there for 8.5 hours, you're getting charged for 8.5 hours. Some artists don't charge for like freehanding time and setup and prepping time, where they're like shaving you and soaping your skin up and freehanding on you with Sharpies or something like that. They won't charge for that stuff, but they'll only charge like once they actually start putting the needle into the skin and tattooing. Some tattoo artists will subtract time for breaks, like if they take a lunch break for half an hour, or if they have to get up and do a consultation with a couple of clients for 20 minutes or something, they'll kind of estimate or subtract those things at the end of the session so that the client that's sitting in the chair waiting for them doesn't have to pay for those things. But other artists don't. They just kind of consider it like a regular job, where it's like, all right, well, if I'm at work, I'm going to be entitled to so many different, breaks or whatever, and those things are something you're going to have to pay for regardless of whether I'm actually tattooing you during that time or not. So it all kind of just varies from artist to artist, and I wouldn't necessarily say that there's like a right way to do things or a wrong way to do things. It just depends on what that artist has decided is fair for them and their clients. Yet another thing worth mentioning is that there is a minimum that exists with these hourly rates. With every tattoo, there are like setup costs associated, like with all the disposable equipment we use, and also the tattoo artist has to spend time like consulting with you and like figuring out what the design is going to be and all that different stuff. So to make sure that scenario doesn't happen, where we're just doing like a bunch of very small tattoos and really not making any money for it, we have what's called a minimum when it comes to hourly charging and tattooing. And what an artist minimum will be, it varies from artist to artist, and they pretty much decide that stuff based on what they think is fair remuneration for the time that they spend and the disposable setup cost that they're going to be, incurring as an expense for that tattoo. All right, so now that we've talked quite a bit about hourly rates, which, like I said, is the most common method that tattoo artists use to price their tattoos, let's go ahead and talk about the second method that I'm going to be discussing today, which is the flat rate. Basically, what a flat rate is when a tattoo artist gives you a set price, a fixed price, after they've already discussed in detail like the size of the tattoo, placement, complexity, the style, whether it's color, black and gray, all those different factors. And that's, what you get quoted is what you pay exactly. If your tattoo artist is giving you a flat rate, most likely it's because the tattoo that you're getting is very small. And the reason for that is because if a tattoo artist estimates how long a tattoo is going to take them and how much that tattoo is worth, and they end up being wrong about how long it takes them, and it ends up taking much more time or much less time than what they originally estimated, it's not as big of a deal with a small tattoo as it is with a large tattoo, because as the tattoo scales in size, like the amount of money that we're talking about is much different. So like, for instance, with a small tattoo that costs, I don't know, it's going to be a 2-hour tattoo and the tattoo artist charges $100 an hour. If it ends up taking half an hour longer or half an hour shorter, that's not really that big of a deal because it's only a $50 difference. But if the tattoo is something that's going to take 20 or 30 hours, then if the tattoo artist kind of misjudges how long it's going to take them, then they could end up getting overpaid by, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 or something, or underpaid by $500 or $1,000. So tattoo artists really don't like to have that sort of uncertainty in how much they're going to get remunerated for a certain piece. So that's why usually they just do flat quotes on smaller pieces. Now, an exception to this would be if a tattoo artist is one of those like top 2% tattoo artists in terms of speed. If a tattoo artist is exceptionally fast, then they run into a situation over and over and over where they're getting fucked and they're pretty much like doing hourly on pieces and then zooming through them way faster than an equivalent skill level tattoo artist would, and therefore it doesn't make sense for them to charge an hourly rate that's the same as that equivalent tattoo artist around the corner at another shop. They should just go ahead and start flat quoting everything based on what the finished product looks like. So like a good example of that would be like if two tattoo artists are at the exact same skill level, right? And let's say they're at a skill level that merits $100 an hour. One tattoo artist takes 10 hours to finish that $100 an hour piece. The other tattoo artist consistently does that piece in 5 hours instead of 10. That tattoo artist either has to raise their rate to $200 an hour to basically like make it justified, like their skill level, like in comparison with how much money they're getting paid, or they just have to start flat quoting stuff, because a lot of people will hear $200 an hour and be like, fuck man, that's a lot of money and I don't think that's fair, because they don't know how fast that tattoo artist is. So the last method that tattoo artists use to price out their tattoos that I want to talk about today is the day rate method. So with a day rate, basically a tattoo artist will charge a fixed or set amount that's consistent for every single day that they go to work and tattoo all day. So, I've met a lot of tattoo artists that will have like a $1,200 day rate, where pretty much every single day they go to work, whether they tattoo for 7 hours, they tattoo for 10 hours or 12 hours or whatever, they charge $1,200, and it is what it is. Most tattoo artists that use a day rate are going to be like the type of tattoo artists that really don't do any small tattoos at all. You know, they're not gonna have you come in for like an hour and a half tattoo like that and be like, that's gonna be my day rate, $1,200 or $2,000 or whatever. It's actually the opposite of that, where all they want to do is tattoos that are either gonna take them all day or they're gonna take them several days, because it's a multiple session piece that's gonna take a long time to complete. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that every tattoo artist that charges day rates is going to be very expensive. I've seen tattoo artists that charge like an all-day rate that's actually pretty cheap. Like I've seen some people be like, all right, $600 for an all-day rate. And it's because they have a certain style that they're really trying to push and give people a discount on, and they really do want to do large-scale work without necessarily having to have clients that have a ridiculous amount of money that they can pony up to get that work. They just want to get it out there so that they can build a portfolio or something like that. So sometimes that's the reason why tattoo artists use day rates, but most of the time it's because the tattoo artist has quite a bit of notoriety and only is interested in doing large work, either multiple session or single session, but shit that's at least going to take all day. So that's about it, guys. In today's video, we have discussed the 3 different methods that tattoo artists use to price out their tattoos. One being the hourly method, one being the flat rate method, and one being the day rate method. So hopefully this stuff made sense to you guys. I tried my best to explain it as best as I can. I'm going to be having a lot more videos that touch on the subject of tattoo pricing, because when I was kind of like planning out this video on what I was going to discuss, I realized that it's a really, really complex subject, and there are a lot of different ways that I could break this information up and organize it that's really easy for you guys to digest, instead of just having like one 45-minute or 60-minute video on the thing. So I am going to do that. I felt like this stuff that I discussed today was the most important like starting point to kind of give you guys a basic idea of how this shit works. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Be on the lookout for more in the future. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button below, and also make sure you subscribe. Any questions you guys got, ask them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Pretty soon I'm going to be doing some Q&A videos too, so hopefully I'll be able to get like the questions that I think are the best and most relevant questions answered on those videos. So yeah, be on the lookout for those too. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.